Hi, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you have made it this far in the course, and even if you skipped some sections, that's not a problem. I understand that you may just be interested on doing some stock market analysis, so that's fine. But be sure that you know about pandas and the bokeh libraries. So we use pandas to handle data, whether it is stock market data or weather data or anything. We use that for handling data in Python, analyzing and grouping and etc. And also we use the bokeh library, which is a great library for visualizing data. So that was an intro for this lecture. Now what you'll get from this lecture is you learn how to get stock market data and also other kinds of data. And the good thing of this is that you'll not download this data from a website or from your browser, but you'll get them directly from Python. And the way you do that is by using a library called pandas data reader. So you need to install that library, and you can install it with pip. So install pandas underscore data reader. So this used to be actually a module under the pandas library, but now it's a standalone library, so this is how you install it. I have installed it already, so it says requirements already satisfied, but it shouldn't be a problem to install it. So once you do that, you can use, and of course I suggest you to use the Jupyter notebook. So I was in this folder, and now if I create a Jupyter file here, so let's call this stock analysis. Now I should have that file in here, so this is the notebook that I created. Great. So how do we go about getting this data in Python without even opening the browser? Well, that's actually fairly easy. For instance, let's try to get some recent data from Yahoo for some companies that sell stock in there. So let's say Apple. And the first thing you want to do is you want to import the required tool from the pandas data reader library. And one tool that is used to get this stock market data is the data tool. So from pandas data reader import data. Now once you do that, Alt enter to execute the line, and once you do that, you want to use a method called data reader. And if you ask for help, so just a question mark there, execute, and you'll see the doc string, so the definition of this function. So this imports data from a number of online resources, and this library can get data from Yahoo Finance and Google Finance and St. Louis Fed or Fred and Kenneth French data libraries. So, and you can get data from probably all the existing companies out there. And now, to get data from these resources and from different companies, what you can do is you want to pass some parameters to this data reader function. Now, the first parameter you may want to input there is the name parameter, which expects the name of the company. Actually, it's not the name of the company but it's the stock symbol. So stock symbols. If you search for stock symbols there and you look at this list of symbols from the New York Stock Exchange, you'll see that. So you have a big list of companies there, and you've got this code here. Or you can even use the search function of Yahoo. So these symbols are also called tickers. So you can enter a ticker here or company name. So Apple, and you see that the ticker for Apple is AAPL. So you put that in there, and then you want to specify the data source. So let's try Yahoo. You should get probably the same data. So Google gathers data, Yahoo gathers data on its side. So that's not a big issue. I haven't tried much data from Google. I have worked with Yahoo, and I know that the maximum resolution, the temporal resolution that Yahoo offers is 1 day. So you can get a row for each day of the stock market data. You can also get weekly data. Then if you want, you can easily resample this data into weekly or monthly with pandas. So Yahoo, and then you have the start time and the end time of your data. So let's define this here. Let's say the start variable, that would be date time dot date time. Actually, we need to import the date time first. Import date time, and then we access the date time class from the date time library. So let's get data from 2006 and let's say March 1st. So this is the start time, and then the end time would be. So as you can see, I'm using the datetime module to specify the date of my data. So, and the reason to that, the reason I'm putting these date times here is that this start and the end parameters, they expect from you to enter a date time data type. So you cannot just enter a string there that says 2016 and a comma or an underscore or anything. So you need to be strict there with your format. So let's say March and let's say 10 here. So for data for 10 days. Then you need to pass these variables here to these parameters. So start and end. That's it. So don't confuse the names of the parameters with the names of the variable. They just come to be the same here. So now we created this, and what you want to do now is you want to save the product in a variable. So I'm choosing to have a df variable. And actually, if you check the type of all this expression, well, you'll first get date time is not defined because I didn't execute this line where I had this date time. So execute that, now execute that again. And now you see that this object is actually a data frame. So the pandas data reader, actually the data reader method of the data class of the pandas data reader library produces a data frame, so a pandas data frame. So that means we can store that data frame in a variable. I remove the brackets and just print out the data frame here. And here we go. Let me close this window. And here's the data. Now, don't worry for now if you don't understand these attributes. I'll explain them in the next lecture. Because in this lecture, I just wanted to know how we get around getting data with Python. So that is a product you get, and you can export that in a CSV file, so that's not a problem. And if you want, you can get data for a longer time frame. So, and you get a long data frame there. So from January to March, 1st of January and 10th of March. Of course, you can change the company very easily to anything. Let me just put a random name there. There are quite a lot of companies out there, so this should work. XRA. I have no idea what company is this, but you get the idea. So it doesn't look as big as Apple, but or even Google. So you pass Google there, and this is the data for Google. And you can even get that from Google directly. So 4th of January, you have 743 for open. Let's see what Yahoo says about Google. Yeah, it says the same thing. So that is about getting stock market data. Now, I can show you how to get other kinds of data as well from the pandas data reader library. And I would prefer to point you to the documentation. I don't want to go through every data set there. This is a very clear documentation, so I'm sure you'll have no problem going through this. So here you have the data from Yahoo, which we just consumed there. And then you can have data from Google, so you pass Google there, just as I did here. I pass the name of a parameter explicitly there, but you can also pass them in the correct order like this. So the company name, the data source name, start and end, and you'll be fine. So it's the same thing. Then you have data from Fred and from French. And interestingly, you have data from World Bank as well. So instead of doing from pandas data reader import data, as we did here, you do from pandas data reader import the WB, so World Bank, and then you search for data sets, so GDP, per capita, and also other attributes there. And then you should use this download function, and that gets you data in a data frame as well. So that's about World Bank, and you have other data sets as well. So you have OECD statistics there, Eurostat, and Edgar Index. If you ever need them, you know that they are here in this URL, so in the pandas data reader documentation. So that's what I wanted to teach you in this lecture. I will move on by focusing on the stock market data. So I'll go quickly through these data, explaining them, what they mean. So we've got quite a lot of interesting things to do. Let's move on then.